Hey there everybody, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to show you how I take different references to create something of my own. And I am celebrating Beltane in a couple of weeks, so this video is part of my Wheel of the Year series. And this is the Green Man, which is associated with Beltane. Some people know it as May Day. So what I did was I took a few different elements, or one element from each picture, and made it my own. Still kind of changing it a little bit, but taking some inspiration from some of these pictures. So this one, I kind of liked the eyes, how they were kind of closed a little bit. These were open a little bit more than these, but I liked the shape. For this one, I really liked the mustachio. So I kind of embellished it more, but that's kind of where I was inspired by for that. This one, I was inspired by these horns. I still think they should be bigger because of the size of his head, but I wanted to do more of a deer horn this time, so I'm going to change that element. But I also really liked his cheekbones, so I gave him some really severe cheekbones. And then I liked his beard. Now I got a little bit crazier because I wanted it to be a little bit more free-spirited, if you will. And then I also liked the way he had kind of the leaves and the flowers on his crown. So I kind of took a few of those little elements and then brought them into my own drawing. And I'm going to leave this on the screen so you can kind of see what I'm working from. And this is like 12 by 16 Bristol paper. I'm going to be coloring this in again with alcohol markers. So you want to be using a Bristol paper. This is just standard, like a standard sketchbook. It's just Master's Touch drawing paper, because I will then use my light box to transfer it to my paper so I don't have all the erase marks. I've talked about that before. So I'm going to kind of try to keep both of these on screen. I'm just using my B bold lead, if you will, so that it's dark enough for you to see it. And then I just have a couple of different erasers here. And then I also have my little circle template, which I'll show you. I might use for the eyes, just for a good round iris, if you will. So I'm going to have these kind of off to the side. If I want to show you something that I'm referring to on here, then I will grab them again. So let's just go ahead and get started. So when you're drawing the face portion, you don't want to just go in and draw like one circle, and you don't want to just use your wrist. You want to use your whole arm from your shoulder. And then this is where you will kind of start mapping out where you want things to fall on the page. This one, again, I made the horns a little too small. I should have brought these up more so I could use the whole piece of paper. So I'm going to kind of keep the head kind of near the center, but then make the horns a little bit bigger. And I'm probably going to make his head a little bit smaller so that I can fit more of those deer antlers. But I do like to draw big. It's an issue. Okay. So let's just start here. Lots and lots of circles. And then once you kind of have your circle, then you can decide which circles you want to actually form the head. So you can kind of go in and shore up the lines that you want. Now you won't see most of this bottom portion because of the beard, but you still want to go ahead and draw all of it so that you get your eyes and your nose and everything with the right placement. And then once you kind of have the general shape you're looking for, you can go ahead and go in and erase those extra lines. And this is why I like to transfer it onto my nice paper so you don't have all those erasing marks. And then we can go ahead and finish just kind of adding in the rest of his head, like so. Again, it's really hard for me sometimes to get them exactly equal. I mean, if you wanted them to be exactly perfect, you could copy one side, flip it over, and then transfer the other side. So then we're going to map out where we want the eyes to be. I'm going to make them a little bit farther up instead of dead center. A lot of times you'll just split the two in half there. And then the nose is generally halfway between these two lines. I'm also going to drop that down just a little bit. Again, this is very stylized. Between here and here is generally where the mouth would be, kind of right about there. And then we can adjust these lines if we need to. And then we would draw a line through the center here. And then generally speaking, for like a regular human's face, there'd be 5 eyes across the way here, but I'm only going to do 3 because I want the eyes to be bigger. So I will draw a center just oval to mark where the eye, the space I want between the two eyes. And then I will try to make each eye the same size as this eye, roughly speaking. And you can pop in a little bit of a circle here for where the nose is, just as a placeholder. Drop that down a little bit more. And then kind of put them, we're not going to see most of the mouth, just the bottom lip, but you can kind of go ahead and mark where that would be as well, just as a placeholder. And then I'm going to draw the eyes. And I like to draw them in sections at the same time to try to get them to be fairly mimicking each other. And they're never identical. That's almost impossible. Again, unless you were going to trace one that you liked onto the other side as well. Try to make them fairly the same size, like the same width. Pop the little tear ducts in. And again, I make adjustments again once I'm putting it on, like tracing it onto my other paper. I can shore up some lines or kind of change them when I go over to that as well. And then I'm going to pop in a little bit of a lid, the eyelid, because again, I want his eyes to kind of be a little squinty looking. And I'm gonna, this time, add just another little crease at the top, like kind of like a wrinkle. And I'm just kind of following the shape of the eye that I've created. And then the eyebrows. It's not angry, it looks kind of determined, but there's a slight curve to them. And I bring them out a little bit past the little tear duct, maybe about right here on both sides. And they start a little bit lower in the eyelid. So maybe right about here, because they have a little bit of a curve and they go right up to the little wrinkle that we had put in. There's a little bit of a curve, then they go up, and then they kind of taper down. And then you can kind of make them the desired thickness, but you're going to follow along this line here where it's going to dip down a little bit, and then it's going to go up, and then you can bring them down. And you can change that shape, and this one will be cut off a little bit anyway. And then we'll just do the same thing over here. So it almost looks angry, but I like to think of it as determined. And then if you want to use the circle template just to put in the irises, whenever I put it in, I pick one of the sizes. It's going to be cut off and the circle will be kind of just dead center. Because his eyes are squinting, you wouldn't see the entire iris. So you can just go in and draw in part of it. And then do the same thing on the other side. And I just try to make sure that I'm centering it kind of as close as I can to the other side, like so. And I'll put the actual pupils in later. And then for the nose, I made it pretty severe. So you'll come in a little bit from the eyebrow, and then I try to make it center. This center line is a little bit skewed, so I'm just gonna kind of shift everything a little bit to the right, trying to leave the same amount of space between both sides there. And then I'm just gonna go straight down for the bridge of the nose. We'll stop right there for a second. And then we'll use this bottom of the circle for just the little tip of the nose there. And then we'll follow that and then put in the nostrils. And then we can put in the sides of his nose. Little line kind of diagonal near those nostrils. And then just a line up and down. I'm gonna scoot this one over just a little bit. It's almost like you're making a squared off parentheses. Parentheses. You get it. And then I just made a couple little lines to kind of finish the nose. And then you won't see all of the mouth, but I roughly put in just some quick lips so I can get the proportions properly. And then we can put in the mustache. It kind of comes right out of the nostril. And again, it's kind of wavy and roughly based off of this one, but I made it more severe. And I'm going to hold my pencil really loose because I'm not trying to make really rigid lines. And you can make it curl up or just go straight out. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. And then the other part would come out almost from the center of the nose. And then you can erase the part of the lips and the face that you won't see. So you can really kind of see the shape that you came up with. And then we're going to put in his cheekbones. Start just a little bit down from the eye. And then I made him end just about where the center of the iris would be. And I just try to mimic it on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and draw in the antlers. And this is the picture I'm using. So I'm going to, again, hold my pencil really loose. And I'm not trying to copy this exactly. I'm just looking for an idea. I can also bring in this one a little bit just to see if I want to change the angle so they're going out more, or if I like them kind of going up. So I'm going to make them go into the head, not just sitting on top of it. I like how it kind of gives you a little bit of a V there, so you kind of know where they start. Now you won't see where this is because the little flower leaf crown is going to cover that up, but you still want to draw it in its entirety so you're getting the proportions properly. Again, these aren't necessarily based in reality. It's just the same concept of antlers. You can make them way simplified or a lot more intricate. It's entirely up to you.
So sick, so sick, so sick of love. So sick of love. I'm tired of always see the better in people or the things that matter. But I never could have thought that dagger in my bag, it was you. In the echoes of your lies, dear. Can you hear me harmonize every word that comes out? It almost got the best of me. But now I've gotten so sick, so sick, so sick of love. So sick, so sick, so sick of love. So sick, so sick.
And then I do like the idea of the ears. And I kind of pulled them from this one. You could also do something similar to that, but I kind of like the ones I did already. I'm not going to have them be cut off or anything from the antlers. I'm going to kind of have them be parallel. Just a little bit of a hump here, and then kind of go swoop up. And do the same over here. A little bit of a hump, and then kind of swoop up. Again, you don't even have to do ears if you don't want to, or you could do elf ears, or you could do more like deer-shaped ears. Sky's the limit. Just your imagination. I drew a green man years and years and years ago. Nothing like this one. Change it up this year. I like to produce artwork for the Sabbats so I can hang them up. I'm just trying to get them the same shape and roughly the same size. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. There is going to be hair covering things up, and the bad thing about these is the eraser doesn't stay sometimes, which can be super annoying. That's pretty good, I think. And then we'll just bring in what would be kind of the top of the ear. You wouldn't see all of the inside of it. And then just a skinny little line that would run parallel to that as well, just like I did here. And then you can roughly put in some foliage. I'm going to go ahead and erase all these extra lines here so I can really see where we're at. So I don't want to make the flower dead center like I did that one. I'm going to put it off to the side, and I'm actually going to bring one of them down here. You can just roughly put in, and you can put any flower. It can be based on a real life flower. I just made them very simple. The focus is more on him, but you can certainly make them more realistic. Again, I'm just kind of putting these in for placeholders right now. And since I changed the antlers, I might bring a few flowers in just on the antlers, just for a little something different. Start bringing in some leaves. I always say to do things in odd numbers, so do 3, 5, 7 different sizes. And then again, we can kind of play with that some more, but that just gives us kind of a placeholder. And then his hair, it would still stem from up here and kind of come kind of wavy right next to his eyebrow, or covering his eyebrow even. And then we'll kind of wave out. Same over here. And again, I'm just kind of putting in placeholders for the hair. I'll kind of draw it in a little bit nicer. I just kind of have it flow in different directions because he's got lustrous locks. And then where the beard comes out here, you can just kind of do a little bit of a wavy line on the face, kind of dipping in, following the contour of his face. His hair and his beard will all kind of blend together. And then down here, under the chin, or sorry, under the lip, I liked the little curly Q kind of right here. Kind of liked this little action. So kind of rounded it there and then brought it in. And then I wanted it to kind of flick up. And then you can kind of do that a couple more times in there in the center. And then there would just be some loose ones that you would kind of see. And then the rest of it also would stem kind of like right under the bottom lip there. And then I just made it kind of go a little bit of different directions. You can make them different lengths. About like that. And then you can go in and again erase where his face is, because you wouldn't really see that behind the beard, just so you can get a kind of the look, see if everything kind of pans out the way you want it to. Do that up here as well, and then just make adjustments as you're looking at it.
I'm so sick of love. I'd rather be naive and bitter. Decorate my lows and glitter. Karma hits you like a mirror.
There we go.
You're too late now.
And then I trace over all my lines with a black liner. You can use a Sharpie, whatever you want, so that when we go to the light board, it will show through onto our, so we can see it through our other piece of paper when we trace over it. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll pop back on and show you real quick kind of how I use the light board for part of it, so that way you kind of see what I'm talking about. And then part 2 will be next week when we color him in with the alcohol markers. So I will be back as soon as I get this traced and get my light board set up. So I have my original drawing that we drew together, and then I outlined it in a black Posca pen marker. And then this is my light board. This is my large light board. I don't know what size it is. I have a smaller one as well, but since the photo or the drawing is bigger, I decided to break this one out. And then this is my paper, and it is from Marker Pad from Croma. I've never heard of this brand before, but it's a marker paper. You just want to make sure, as I said before, if you're using alcohol markers, you want to make sure that you're using like a Bristol paper, because if you use like a sketchbook paper, it can really suck out all of the ink that's in the alcohol marker. So that's just something to be really mindful of. So I'm gonna it's gonna get dark for a second so that I can see my outline. Let's see here, turn on my light, turn it all the way up. So now you can see him through onto my paper. I'm not going to outline all of this to show you, but just so you can kind of get the gist of it. I just kind of line it up. And then here's where you can decide, hey, I want more room for his antlers. So you can move it up and then expand those. You can move it down if you didn't care and you wanted to cut him off and then have more of his flowy beard. It's a good time to decide that. And then I am going to outline him again before I start using the marker, but I still go in with, I'm actually using a 4H, but an H would be good. A lighter pencil, so if I want to make any changes, again, I can still erase it without it showing on my final drawing. So I am going to shift it up a little bit, and I may go ahead and expand some of those antlers. And I'm going to shift it also a little bit over to the right. He wasn't quite centered. Like so. And then I did tape the original down so it doesn't shift, and then I just kind of hold my hand on this one. And then again, you can add a whole lot more leaves. You can add leaves all around him. It's up to you. You can add more flowers. I did put some more flowers in the antlers just to make it a little bit more spring. Another really fun thing to do would be to make it more mixed media. And you could just use little cutout flowers or stickers even and put those on. If you didn't really want to draw the flowers, I've done that before. Maybe I'll look and see if I have any that I might want to use. You could even use like punches and punch some pretty flowers out of paper. So sky's the limit. So I'm lightly following my lines, not using a lot of pressure because I do not want it to be super dark so that I can make any adjustments or erase anything if I want to. So I'm just going to go through and take care of all of this, outlining it. And if you have any questions, by all means, drop those in the comments. I appreciate you watching today. And if you like the video, I hope that you'll also give it a thumbs up and maybe give me a follow if you're not following me already. And I will see you in part 2 next Wednesday. And that's right before Beltane, so we can kind of celebrate that together. So thanks again, and I will see you next week.